Morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg and it's the first day of July 2024. Welcome to our show today. And once again, there's a lot of stuff going on and I'm going to get right to it because I'm going to bring Jeff Buongiorno in. He is running for Supervisor of Elections in the very corrupt West Palm County. And after him, Gene Zott's going to be on. We have some breaking news about Macomb County, Michigan. There is definitely, I looked at all the documentation on this, and I'm going to tell you what, I'm a little concerned. I hope everybody takes a look at this and passes this on, because we have had so much cheating in the state of Michigan that when somebody doesn't follow the proper processes or protocols, we have to call them out and we've got to expose it. And it's great that I get on here and I'm, letting everybody have it every day. But you know what? Everybody needs to get on this and pass this information on. So while I'm talking to Jeff, we got about an hour here. Please pass on the information and get people here watching this, because Macomb County is a shit show. And it definitely affects all of the elections in the state of Michigan. We have got to get these little nests of corruption cleaned out. And from what I can see, some of the stuff surrounding Macomb County, especially the clerk and a gentleman named Stan Grott, there are so many things that stack up that we need to be questioning, that we're going to hit this thing pretty hard today. So please bring friends along. Morning, Jeff. How you doing?
Morning, Donna. Doing well. Thanks for having me. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm doing great. Did you have a good weekend?
It was a good weekend. Got some rest. Yeah. Well, how about you?
I don't rest, and that's the problem. It's like sometimes I really think, I should really take a vacation or rest, but when I do that, it just doesn't work out that well for me, because I'm kind of a natural born spaz. So I've always got something that I can figure out doing, and so we had a barn gathering at our barn yesterday. We're probably going to do more of them this weekend coming up for the 4th of July, Independence Day. Kind of excited about that, and I love the 4th of July. I think it's a lot of fun, as well as to celebrate being actual Americans. I think this is wonderful. And as we all stand here and fight for this nation and the freedoms that God gave to us, guaranteed by that Constitution, as we stand as Americans fighting the bad guys. I always look forward to our Monday morning chats, because if anybody out there doesn't know who Jeff is a boss level patriot, and he's been bringing so many things to the forefront. So especially in West Palm County, where our beloved rightful president of the United States resides at least part of the time in Mar-a-Lago. So tell us what's going on there, Jeff. I've got an article coming up, and let's go get these bad guys.
Yeah. Well, speaking of spazzing, did you see that debate?
Oh, you know what? I wasn't going to watch most of it, because I thought, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to have Mumble Mouth up there acting as stupid as he possibly can. And the traitor in chief sitting in the White House, occupying as a foreign agent in our White House. And I'm like, nope, too disgusted. Can't watch this. It's going to be idiocy. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to watch it for a little bit, because President Trump, the rightful president of the United States, is going to hand his tail to him. And it's just going to become something that is really a pivotal moment in American history, because I think even the Democrats are finally embarrassed enough that he's sitting in the front. And I'm not even going to call them Democrats, because I think that it's the people that are sitting in the seats and such are mostly Marxists at this point in time, and they're embarrassing the true Democrats, which are the Kennedy Democrats. But I just got a problem with all of it. I mean, it just showed how poorly the Democrat Party is run, how poorly they can pick candidates, and the fact that they will not get rid of somebody who is actually an embarrassment to the United States of America, the traitor in chief, Biden.
Well, I have a theory. I think that if the Supreme Court rules that the president has immunity, that Biden will get out. If they rule against that, I think he has to die in the White House to protect himself and his family. So that ruling,
because
that should come down
they're
today.
Criminals.
Oh, I've been saying it for years. It's the Biden crime family, and it's international. and a lot of it starts right here. It's Palm Beach County. West Palm is a town. It's Palm Beach County, but a lot of it starts here with this. This is ground zero for Jeffrey Epstein, and in 2005, there was a statewide grand jury, and just on the corruption in Palm Beach County, and the grand jury made a presentment and made recommendations, and of course, none of them were followed by our local officials. I think the last time that I was on, one of the times I was on, we had some technical problems, and the topic of the day was how at public comment, which is our citizens' right to speak and redress grievances in front of the county commissioners, the vice mayor cut our microphones whenever we mentioned illegals voting in the election. So, it kind of hits home when it happens to you. You see news reports. You saw it in Georgia, but they're scrambling. They're trying to cover. They're trying to delay, deny, and defend so they can, use their network of NGOs and unlawful laws to steal the next election, because ain't nobody voting for Biden.
Unless they're completely and utterly brain dead or they're on his payroll.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say that. It's like the problem is the same thing that happened in the Revolutionary War. It's like you have the loyalists and the patriots, and it's like the people that are loyal to that administration are guaranteed getting a payoff somewhere. And so I wanted to tell you this because there's this weird connection between Florida and Michigan and everywhere in Michigan, quite honestly. And take a look at this video because I want to post this. This was from Interlochen Center for the Arts, summer 1967. And guess who's in the picture? Jeffrey Epstein. There's a lot of questions about Interlochen, Fox Island, the amount of human trafficking that goes on in the state of Michigan. And I think people need to really realize this. But what's even more important about this picture is to look at the physique of everybody standing in the picture there. You've got young adolescent males here, but look at the build on Epstein. I'm going to guarantee you that these guys are probably around 14 to maybe 16 years old. This guy's built like he's more like 18 to maybe 20. And it's real obvious when you look at it. Guys don't fill out until they're 18 years old. They're a little squirrely before that, and girls mature a little quicker, and then all of a sudden the boys catch up, and you're like, man, what happened to you? And you're about you're about a senior in high school, right? Well, look at the difference here. It's a very marked difference between the physique of this guy and all the rest of them. And so my question is,
this is in Michigan?
What's that? There's so much human trafficking, and the litany or the legacy of human trafficking in this state is just unbelievable. But he was here in 1967, high school boys cabin number 1. So ground zero, I think that there's like some connections between when you look at the elections and the election rigging in Michigan and in Florida and Georgia, there's all of these connections that you can find behind the scenes, but there's no one on the planet that's going to have me believing that he is the same age as the rest of these guys in the picture. Not possible. And so I just wanted to show you that because there's a whole bunch of nonsense going on with the islands around Michigan, the human trafficking around Michigan, a bunch of kids that they found the remains of in the islands around Michigan. And besides that, you've got nature boy and girl Betsy DeVos and the DeVosses up here who have Peters Island, which is right next to Epstein Island in the Caribbean. I call foul on all of them because they're great. They're great at hiding who they are, but not good enough for somebody who's got a mission to expose these people, because these people are evil.
Yeah, let me just adjust this. Give me 1 second. This is a little.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, that's better. All right.
Yes.
So, I remember watching a document. What? I remember
Go ahead.
watching a documentary about missing children and a serial killer in up in Michigan and near the Great Lakes. I don't know if there's any
Yeah, Fox
connection.
Island, and if you look at most of the islands around, they have small. I kind of like to fly, and I'm kind of aircraft obsessed, as well as anything that's avionics, and just all of this. I'm obsessed with it, right? And so anyhow, most of these little islands have landing strips on them. And when you look at the connection from Fox Island and Detroit and the murder of a whole bunch of little guys in the 70s, when
Yeah.
Epstein was close to when Epstein was at Interlaken, I think that we've got a real problem here. And anybody that leaves their kids in the care of somebody else, you have just taken idiot pills, because we do not know who these people are. And unless you're sitting right there with your kids, you have no idea, from the crazies in the school who are doing the pornography in the school and all of this sorts of things. You can go back to the Franklin cover up and all of these other things where and I believe that we're going to find out that the Boy Scouts of America were involved in some nasty stuff back then too. But people don't look necessarily, and it's not saying all of them are bad, but bad guys find where people trust them, and they infiltrate and they take advantage of people who are naive to the way the world really works. So we need to protect our kids, and these people need to be faced with crimes against humanity, in my opinion. But anyhow.
Yeah, well, growing up in the suburbs just outside of Manhattan, in Fort Lee, New Jersey, it was considered the sixth borough of New York. I had a lot of Jewish friends, and they all went away to summer camp, and the parents would ship them off for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it was, and I just see these camps as number one, a threat, because you don't know who's really watching your children. It kind of reminds me of that cabin. But second of all, if you want to perform a terror, with all this anti-Israel sentiment going on, how well protected are these camps where the children are? And I've been saying this, for like 4 years now. I have, a lot of friends who are sending their kids to these camps, and I'm like, should really double think that, and look at the risk reward that you get out of it. And especially now
it's kind of naive.
It's
it's sort of like Disney World. It's like, I hope everybody out there is really awake to what happened and what's been happening with Disney World, such as grooming your children. And I mean, we went there several times when my kids were young, because we were not aware of what was actually going on down there. And once you get your eyes open and you become awake, you can never unsee this kind of stuff. Like the tweets from the CEO that were going on for a while there. This is absolutely, he absolutely admits to having pedophile tendencies. And then you can see some of the other nonsense that's going on down there. And it's very, very concerning. Well, I think that we need to really wake up to what's happening with all the camps around too, because parents, this is not the same world that you thought you were growing up in, and at all. And we need to do full stop on some of this stuff and protect our children.
Yeah, speaking of children, and this brings us to that article. Now, let me explain a little.
I'll bring it up here, okay?
Yeah. Let me explain a little something about the Palm Beach Post, which is where this article originated from. And this particular writer, Frank Serabino, I had no idea that. I don't read the Palm Beach Post. I don't think it's fit for the bottom of a bird cage to catch turds. It's such a liberal rag. But I started getting texts from people, and they were like, wow, congratulations. For what? Oh, did you see the article in the Palm Beach Post? I'm like, no, let me check it out. But I did get a call from a reporter, Frank Serabino. And it turns out that Frank Serabino is the henchman for the radical left. And they'll go and do a hit piece on someone. And from what I'm being told, if he does, it's a badge of honor, because that means they're concerned and they try to discredit you. So I got a phone call, I was for whatever reason I was curious about Yankee Doodles. I have a friend's. I consider the kid a nephew, and we grew up in Jersey together. And there was always, and the father's house, there was always Yankee Doodles, and I always joked about the junk food. And I looked in this, some of the, and he's in college down here, so I wanted to pick up some Yankee Doodles, and right, surprised him. We were going to go on a little boat trip, and I couldn't find them. So I Googled it, and I got a 403 security error, which means maybe their web server was backing up, rebooting, maintenance, who knows. But it went on for a while, and I thought, well, maybe I tweeted out, well, did they cancel Yankee Doodles? I was wrong. I put Hostess. It's Drake's is the manufacturer, but I confused the two often because they're very similar in nature and what they produce. And it's a long story. A friend had a route. The route got canceled because Hostess went on strike, and he used to deliver Drake's and Hostess, and he wasn't supposed to. But this hit piece basically is the phone rang. My cell phone rang. I answered the phone, and it said, "Oh, this is Frank Sarabino from the Palm Beach Post. I have a question." So I'm like, "All right, great." I've been reporting on illegals and the have statistics and how the laws are broken in Florida. I'm like, "All right, this is going to get some mainstream media attention." And he's like, "I really want to ask you. I've been following you on Twitter." I'm like, "All right, here it comes." He goes, "Are Yankee Doodles really canceled?" I said to Frank, "Frank, this is what you want to talk about? You want to talk about cupcakes when I'm posting all this stuff about illegals and election fraud? Well, you can't prove election fraud. Blah, blah, blah. I want to talk about Yankee Doodles." I'm like, that's what you want to talk about? Okay. So he calls me a conspiracy theorist, but he really, this goes back to cancel culture. When I was a kid in fifth grade, I remember we did like an in-depth study on Yankee Doodles and on the song Yankee Doodle Dandy. And it never really escaped me that it was a patriotic song. And he basically, what he's saying is that, I'm proclaiming that cancel culture exists while he's denying that cancel culture exists. Meanwhile, he's trying to write this article, discredit and cancel me. But it's, I think it's one of the things he wrote was, "Oh, how could you take a song seriously that says, rode to town, put a feather in his cap and called it macaroni?" Now, doesn't it sound silly? I mean, maybe the guy's got a point, right? But the origin of that statement, well, number one, first of all, the song was the marching song of the British, right, who were fighting the American Revolutionary War, and it was derogatory. It was basically calling the American Revolution fighters deplorables. And if you look back in history and you really hone down into the words, so if we talk about the feather in the cap and called it macaroni, well, it turns out that during that time period, 1760s up until the 1780s, the globalists, the elites, we've seen them wear wigs, right? The British, the crown, our rulers, those wigs were made of macaroni, and it was a status symbol, and it was considered to be high fashion. So the deplorables, they didn't have the process. They didn't want to waste the food. They didn't use macaroni. So they're saying that, well, they put a feather in the hat, and they're deplorables. They're inauthentic. They can't, they're trying to be like us elitists, but they're not. So, this might sound far-fetched to you and the audience. This is why I included an additional link. Now, I don't know if you want, before we venture into the...
Yeah, let me go to that one too, because I had never heard that story before.
Yeah.
So I come on here and I get all these great people to talk to, and I got to tell you what, I love this because I had no idea that I just never looked into it,
It's also doodle was slang at the time for penis. and they were saying that they have small penises, basically, is what they were inferring. And once we won and we were gaining grounds, we adopted that song, the same rhymes, and we changed it around, and it was like a slap in the face to them. But what you have to do is you have to really dig down into some of these links. So it became, also there was a film made about it in 1942 about
that's
this.
what I have up right now is the film.
Oh, okay.
That was the link that you posted in the private chat there.
Yeah, click right there where your mouse is. See Yankee Doodle. Let's see. Yeah, hit that.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, and it happens to be the official state song of Connecticut. So let's click on Middle Dutch, where it's highlighted under origin. It's okay. You see Middle Dutch, yeah. Okay, so let's.
Oh, this is really interesting.
Yeah, so the song started out. It was in Dutch, and it was hard to translate. It was very old. So some of these words were loose translations. So this is basically the reason why it's in there. And now if you could hit the back arrow.
This is really interesting because there's a lot of Dutch in West Michigan. My grandparents used to fight in Dutch if they didn't want us to hear what they're saying. They'd argue in Dutch. Yeah. Now, they didn't really fight, but it's like they would, that instead of having us kids hear their disagreement, they'd go into Dutch.
Yeah, you see Yanker, Diddle, Dodel. Look under. Let's just take a look at this paragraph here. Yankee Viva, Voover. So the term doodle appeared in English. Let's scroll down. First appeared in English in the 17th century. Okay, men who place particular. So it's almost like almost doodle is like metrosexual in today's terms.
Oh, that's funny.
The term macaroni was used to describe a fashionable man who dressed and spoke in an outlandishly affected and effeminate manner.
Oh, that's really interesting. All right, guys, I'm loving this. This is a cool.
The term Yankee Doodle. Go ahead.
On the, it's like this is ground level research here, looking at this and supporting it with history. I love it.
In British conversation, the term Yankee Doodle Dandy implied unsophisticated misappropriation of upper class fashion. So the feather was the macaroni, as though simply sticking a feather in one's cap would transform the wearer into a noble.
Okay, there's a lot of things that people do. I'm kind of been on a mission lately against vocal fry, because I'm kind of sick of it. We all use it to a certain degree, but you do that. It's like when you listen to the Kardashians, they go like that, or they end every word with that little and it's that came from people that were trying to appear that they were just too good for us and want to show that they don't care. James Bond did it. It's in James Bond a lot, that sort of thing. It's an aristocracy inflection. It's kind of interesting, but I don't know. I think it's funny.
Yeah. It's the we're just very educated people.
We got to put on all sorts of airs to try to make everybody believe that they're better than everyone. It's interesting to me. Very interesting.
Yeah. So if you go back, I want to get to the macaroni wig.
Okay.
So if you go back to that Wikipedia.
Right here?
So the macaroni. Okay, yeah, there it is. The macaroni wig was an example of such rocco dandy fashion, popular in elite circles in Western Europe and much mocked in the London press. So it really was, this song is just so historical in nature, and it's the state song, official state theme song of Connecticut. And this writer just shreds it and says it's like a child's, rhyme. and it's not. It's iconic, and where it's very pertinent to our independence as we celebrate Independence Week. And this writer just came out and basically tried canceling me. Number one, he said that the 403 error was because I had no internet connection. He lost his internet connection. He doesn't even know what a 403 yet. If I had no internet, I would get the no connection screen. 403 basically is it's not what he said it is. It's the it's the exact polar opposite. And the song just has deep, tremendous meaning, history, and he's just trying to cancel me, cancel it, and this is an example of fake news. It's just so ironic that he's denying cancel culture and he's canceling culture.
Well, it's so funny how it's like, Yankee Doodle Dandy. And then in this paragraph, British were insinuating that the colonists were lower class men who lacked masculinity, emphasizing that American men were womanly. So I think we can substitute macaroni. The new terms for it in our culture are soy boys and that sort of thing.
I think they were calling the soy boys and deplorables all at once.
I think so.
And it's in another link where it talks about doodle and saying it's they were saying it's a small penis. You have to go back. You have to go back to the main page. See, is this the main page for Yankee Doodle? Okay, origin.
Yeah, it really is. It's the other one was the play, the
macaroni was a wig in extreme fashion. No, but there's more links in there. So is there? We did nonsense words, right? The macaroni.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to dig into it, but it does, like you said, it's effeminate. I think I found it in here. So it tells the story. I think if you click on the war and the story of the war and how we turned it against them, and it was like, it's kind of like how Trump said, lock her up, and now they're trying to lock him up. Well,
do you want to go on this link right
here?
Yeah,
let's.
Let's see what we can find on the page here. Research as we on the fly.
On the fly.
Well, you know what? I think what we should do is just go ahead and post the links, and then people can also. I'll throw these out there on my chat because it'll take us. Sometimes on the trying to find things while you're online is people usually like things a little quicker. So I'll just post it on my Telegram channel at Brandenburg #4MI. Go find it.
All right.
You too will know what we are talking about here. Here, I'll grab a bunch of them. This is really great. I got to tell you, I didn't know.
I thought it was appropriate. The week kind of flew up on me. I'm running for office now, and I have a lot of other, they're coming at me trying to get me off the ballot. We talked about that last time. I think we did like an impromptu on a Tuesday or something. But they've ramped up their efforts ever since, and they have demands that are very time sensitive. So there are a lot of like they did to you, right? They want to keep us off the ballot, like they tried keeping Donald Trump off the ballot. So this is their first line of defense. Hey, if we keep him off the ballot, we don't. The incumbent, who is basically deep state entrenched, she has no opponent. And I don't know if we went through that story where they said the bank flagged my check with a SARS suspicious activity report, like I'm Hunter Biden. And they gave me an hour to basically, they sent me an email at 11:27 a.m. So in Florida, you have a qualifying period. You have the 10th to the 14th, a full week. It ends at noon on a Friday, the 14th. And you have to get your check and your candidate oath and all your documents in order to qualify for the ballot. Now, I did that with 12 minutes to spare. I wanted to make sure they weren't going to drop a Republican. I really wasn't sure if I would run if I had to deal with a primary. So what's good about this now is in August 20th, and that's a whole nother story. Why was the presidential primary in March and our primary in late August? So this is how Florida, this is what they do to keep the incumbents in power. So what we're doing right now, I know I'm going off beat on how they try keeping me off the ballot, but this is a very important point. We have one of the latest primaries in the country. Texas is like in maybe May or April, but March is what the presidential primary is in Florida. So there's a 5 month difference. So what does that mean? So right now I'm watching this play out, and it's hard to get volunteers and right now for my campaign because there are so many Republican candidates that are beating their brains out against each other, wasting resources. They're doing hit jobs on each other. So you win the primary, right? You've expended tons of time, energy, resources, cash, and now you have what? I mean, early voting starts like in a month. So August 20th, you have the election is November 5th. What do you have? September and October, 65 days. And meanwhile, early voting starts probably October 17th. So you have a month and a half to take out an incumbent who's been there for many years. It's ridiculous. And, now you're door knocking in 110 degrees heat. And instead of having, doing all this in March, they schedule it in August. And they're showing preference to the president, which, I think it's reasonable. I'm all for competition, right? I'm not saying, hey, don't run Republicans against Republicans. That's the last thing I want to say. But I do believe that the Florida primary should be in alignment with when the presidential primary was. So now you've excluded the Republicans, and they have a solid 5 months to go up against the incumbents who are very difficult to dethrone, not only because of election fraud, but they use their positions of power as campaign tools. I'll give you an example. The incumbent Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections, her name is Wendy Satori Link. I call her Wendy Weak Link. And what she does, she has like a $10 million budget for a certain line item, right? And she puts her face everywhere. I mean, I think she even prints Wendy Link friggin' toilet paper. You got pens, you got billboards, every envelope reminding you to vote, every voter registration check. They mail out, return receipt, return service requested to make sure that the addresses are legitimate, which I think they have their own little way around that, but that's a whole nother story. But she's using the incumbency, the taxpayer dollar for self-promotion. If you call the Supervisor of Elections office, it's like Clockwork Orange, torture. She says her name every 10 seconds when you're on hold. Hi, this is Wendy Satori Link, and it just keeps repeating and repeating. I wanted to friggin' jump out the window listening to her. And so, this is just a Florida thing. Everyone thinks Florida is the gold standard. It's not. And by the way, I have a recent endorsement, and I'm proud to be endorsed by the MyPillow CEO, Mike Lindell.
Yay. That's cool.
Also Colonel John Mills. He's author of The Nation Will Follow. He was a deep stater, but he didn't realize it. He worked at the Pentagon. He wrote a great book, The Nation Will Follow. I'm actually a former U.S. congressional candidate. He endorsed me as congressional candidate. So I gave him a call. I said, hey, John, how's that endorsement for Congress? Can we apply that? Are you for me for Supervisor of Elections? He's like, hell yeah. And another big endorsement is the Florida Republican Assembly, the Pinellas Watchdog. Now, this is a group to watch. There's a great candidate. His name is Chris Gleason. Now, we've been working on separate paths, and I knew who he was, but I never spoke with him. But now we're part of a group of 11 supervisors of elections in the state of Florida, which represents about 16% of the population, who are all America First candidates, and we're all kind of comparing notes. And what we're finding, very, very interesting similarities. Both of our journeys, Chris and I, they started on the national level, and now we decided to hone down on Florida. And some of the things, I'll give you a good one. What Chris is like the FOIA public records request ninja. He fires these things off with fierce veracity, and he doesn't stop. He's relentless, and he's he's the bomb. But one of the public request records, as we call them at the state level, was it was a DSD 114. I forgot the exact form that he requested, and it was from Palm Beach County, and it was like a breakdown of the blank. What we're finding are blank ballots. 425,000 blank ballots were counted. But so he did a FOIA request, a PRR request in Palm Beach County, and on the report we caught him. The date was September 1st, 1984 at 4:23 a.m. How is that possible? We asked Palm Beach County. No one could give an answer. That was his baby for a while. Then once we joined forces, he brought this to my attention. And I don't know if you know this or the audience knows this. I did a presentation at CPAC in 2023, and we basically went through all of the forensics that we did on the Mesa County, Colorado image, the one that Tina Peters, supposedly stole, and the LA Times did a hit piece on me. Another article like the macaroni, like the Yankee Doodle Dandy one. But what we found in the registry of the server, because every server has a jurisdiction, right? Everybody's after the machines. I'm not a machine guy. My background for 25, 30 years is servers, right? That's my background. So I looked at the servers, and what we found was that there was a feature called time stopping, and it was enabled. So time stopping enabled. What do you do when you do forensics? When you have issues, when you troubleshoot, you look at the log file, right? And you want to see, well, the user had this problem, and it happened at noon on Friday. So what do? You go back, you look at the log files on the server, the workstation, wherever you have log files to see what transpired, what may have caused that problem Friday at noon. With time stopping, it's kind of like I use the equation, and the analogy of time of death. When a forensic, criminal investigator, they want to know time of death. So what do people do when the bad guys? Well, they won't call the police for 4 or 5 hours, or they'll turn the air conditioning up, or they'll freeze the body so they don't have the time of death. This is the same thing. So now you go and look at the logs, and we see logs from 1984, and this is in the 2020 election, from the year 1619. So I say, Chris, here you have it. Time stopping is enabled. These local folks, they don't even know what that is, and they're sending us reports on public records requests. It's impossible, basically, for that change to be made by your end user who's answering public records requests. 1984, and I find it ironic too with George Orwell in 1984, how the date was set to 1984. So these are the things that we're working on together, and we found these 426 blank ballots. Now, what does that mean? Why are there blank ballots? What's the definition of a blank ballot? So who's gonna, so that means something like 26% of the voters decided they're going to go to the polls and not vote for anybody. Maybe they're trying to fulfill their civic duties and vote without really, having to think too hard. I don't think that 400.
I don't think so.
26,000 Floridians went to the poll to cast a blank ballot. And I just got breaking information. I was trying to get Chris to come on this morning, but he couldn't. It was the last minute thing.
I was going to ask if you can get him on, because I'd like to hear what he has to say.
I'll work on that. But they remove the definition of what a blank ballot is. We caught them. You get the humana. Well, that's the extra page that went through a scanner that it was picked up as a blank ballot. But no, the definition of blank ballot, which is now removed from the latest publication of the rules, it doesn't even say what a blank ballot is. Now, that leads me to my next point. We talked about socialsecurity.gov. We talked about Help America Vote Act. We talked about the subset of Help America Vote Act called Help America Verify Voters. where we're seeing Texas have these transactions where it's every time that a person registers to vote without a photo ID, they're allowed only to use a 4-digit code, which is supposedly the last 4 digits of a social security
Which
number.
is nonsense. It's nonsense. It's illegal and it's nonsense.
Which in turn it makes it even worse in most states, and in Florida, you can then request a vote by mail ballot online only using those 4 digits, that 4-digit code. And to add insult to injury, you can request up to 3 ballots in Florida by only using a 4-digit code. So basically, these could be synthetic IDs. These could be, NGOs. Why these treble the amount of ballots? Why can one person request 3, but when a person goes and votes same day, they have to show photo ID, number 1, where you have a different standard of identification. Number 2, you can't walk into a polling station on election day and say, hi, here's my ID. Can I get 3 ballots? I need 2 more for my besties in the car. No. But what they did, and this is in line with with eliminating the definition of what a blank ballot is on the Social Security website. We went back and I noticed that they removed a certain line of verbiage, and the verbiage was that the have makes no representation that the last 4 digits of a Social Security number constitute a Social Security number. Now, what is it then, and how is it being allowed? Why is it being allowed to be used as ID by the local authorities? Now, they have no idea. They're yeah, I'm reading that. They're just they're just accepting everything as gospel. Some of these people are zombies. They have no IT experience. The incumbent is a lawyer, and if you look at some of these laws, they're just unlawful. I think it was Martin Luther King who said, "Well, it's important to follow. It's societal," or in typical Martin Luther King fashion, he phrased it in a very eloquent way, which I'm not going to try to reproduce. I don't have it memorized, but he's saying, hey, if the law is just, you have to follow it or there will be no civilization. He said, but equally, if the law is unjust, it's your duty to rebel against that law. And we have unjust laws on the books in Florida that are just, it's a constitutional crisis. And I did another endorsement was Colonel Douglas McGregor. He's retired Army.
Did he endorse
he was a Trump appointee, senior advisor to the Secretary of Defense under Donald Trump. So I got his endorsement. I get quite a few. I have I'm having a hard time keeping up and getting them on the website. Everyone's really excited to get some new blood in the Supervisor of Elections position. But I'm
really proud of you with this too, because I really like Colonel McGregor. He is an amazing speaker, and there was a video that came out from him this week that I love listening to this man talk. He's very well educated on what's really going on, and he doesn't mince words about it.
Yeah, they make fun of his age, but we walked to get lunch one day, and I couldn't keep up with him. He's a young 77. I think 77.
Oh, he's 77? I would have never guessed that.
I think so. Yeah, I think he's I think he's born in
well, you know what? I'm sorry, but this isn't one of those cultural nonsense things that have gone on, because there are some people. I met a guy that was 93 years old that worked on the building the Abrams tank, as well as he worked on, I think it was the Abrams tank that he was on, and also one of the stealth projects.
Yeah,
and he's 93 years old, and this guy is sharp as a tack. And so it's like, if you put him in a room with some of the soy boys and the snowflake girls and such, I'm pretty extra sure he'd smoke them with knowledge. Yeah, you know what? And so I think that's a bad comparison on somebody's age, honestly, because there are people that can actually perform very well at different ages, but either they can or they can't. I don't care if Biden was 25 or however old he is now. It's like, or however old he was 5 years ago or whatever. The man is absolutely incapable of carrying out the office, and if people looked at him for his capabilities, he would be disqualified immediately. I mean,
yeah. Well, I could tell you that when I was about 10 years old, my great grandmother was able to catch me with the wooden spoon, no problem. I could not run her.
Yeah. So
yep. So getting back to McGregor now, I'm going to just say this, and for what it is, let's just say there's a higher than 0% chance that he may be, and this is not. Let's just say this is not confirmed, not anyone's. It's coming from me in my observations. There's a greater than 0% chance that he might be the VP pick. He looks presidential. He did that State of the Union address after the rebuttal to the State of the Union. It was the guy's he's got what it takes, and I asked him, sir, you went out as a colonel, you never made general, and what's behind that? He's like, well, to be a general, it takes a lot of negotiation, a lot of things I just wasn't willing to do. Yeah, could I have made general? Absolutely. Did I want to play that game? Absolutely not. And I'm happy to retire as how he speaks. I'm happy and proud to retire as a retired Army U.S. colonel, blah, blah, blah. So the man, I think, would be a great pick. I know everybody wants Flynn, but, I think McGregor is he's not polarizing. He's not going to overshadow Trump, and he's got my vote for VP. What say you, Donna?
What say I? Well, I think the best person suited for the job should always get this job. And honestly, I'm very slow to make a determination or to have an opinion on this, because I still don't think that we've got it sorted out yet. It's like I'd be a little concerned no matter who he picks at this point in time, quite honestly, because I know he's considering the governor of North Dakota, and I met him. He's a nice guy, very, very nice, a very conciliatory kind of guy. But I've got some real questions about the connections there, and so I'm really partial to General Flynn on all fronts, just because he's I know him, I consider him a friend, and I know his capability. And I can tell you right now, I always joke with him. It's like, yeah, you're always the smartest guy in the room, no matter who's there. I mean, he was the head of intelligence for years. That guy knows what's going on. And I think he's not going to be swayed. He knows who the players are, and his ability to navigate complex situations is extraordinary. So, a lot of people want to make comments on General Flynn. I'm like, he knows what he's walking into. When somebody says, well, this is what Flynn did, I'm like going, yeah, you probably don't know the backstory on that. There might have been another objective.
There's always a backstory.
There might have been another objective that was being accomplished there, and it usually shows people's ignorance on looking at things at face value instead of what's really going on. I hope and pray that everyone stops grabbing these headlines. And the other thing is that General Flynn has been so seriously attacked. He has been just brutally attacked, which tells me, why are they so afraid of him? They are absolutely terrified of General Flynn. Pretty much extra sure that when everybody in the deep state and everybody else is absolutely terrified of a person, that's the guy that I want in office, because there's a reason why they're afraid of him. And it's because he knows where all the bodies are buried. He knows what all of these criminal bastards have done. He is great at infiltrating and walking among them. Doesn't mean that he's one of them. He's gathering
Yeah.
intel. He's an intel officer. So when I hear the hits on General Flynn, I'm like going, okay, you just made the village idiot club there when you hit on General Flynn or attack him. I put him right in the village idiot basket right then and there, because they haven't dug far enough down in to know what's really going on. Now, with that said, there's a lot of really good people out there. I am really, I really like Ivan Raiklin, another colonel, and I like Colonel McGregor. I love when you look at people that make it to that rank. There's some really interesting characteristics that colonels seem to possess. John Tater on Tuesday morning, he is a retired colonel. His son is also of that rank. And so when you look into people that are of that rank, it's noteworthy. And absolutely, if you were going to put together a group of people, I would be looking at people of all ranks, but that's a rank I would be very interested in talking to, because they're noteworthy people.
Yeah, all of these folks that have been in the fight for so long, they need to be part of the administration, because if you're fighting for the country now, right, and you're really actually we're all putting our lives on the line, right? Our lives, our livelihood. They could come after any of us at any time. I'm getting these weird letters from the IRS I never saw before. Hit jobs by the LA Times, hit jobs just recently in the Palm Beach Post, hit jobs in the Huffington Post when they ran for Congress. So it's the people that are fighting a good fight now, or they're going to continue to fight, and we're not for sale, and we're putting America first, and whether it's under Donald J. Trump or under our own initiative or some group that we might join, everyone that you mentioned in that Ivan and anyone else that's in this fight, that's that we should continue it at the next level. And
Ivan is one of my favorite people. I absolutely love and adore Ivan, because not only does he tell the truth, he's hilarious. And to his point, he has actual content. It's sort of like you. It's like, when I go to events, you're going to think this is funny, but I rarely listen to the speakers. Rarely. And so when I was at Turning Point, I listened to President Trump for 10 minutes, and I went out because I love him. I support him. I'm an unapologetic President Trump supporter, but I'm not there for me. I'm there to do work. And it's like I'll catch the reruns, but while I'm there, I'm gathering contacts. I'm talking to people. I'm trying to get interviews and decide, who to put a team together. And I'm to the point, I listen to a lot of people on the right, and I'm going to tell you, the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are both part of this uniparty thing. And I love Laura Trump. I'm going to tell you what, there are good people everywhere, but there's also snakes everywhere. And I met Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And I'm going to tell you what, he's probably the most genuine person in politics that I've ever met. Now, do I agree with his policies? There's some that I agree with, and there's some that I disagree with. But I thought he was a really interesting person. And you know what? If I were going to staff something, because I think that it's important to have divergent skill sets and divergent ideas. Okay, I really do, because there's propaganda going on everywhere, and when you look at it, everyone's lying out there. There's all kinds of people that are lying out there. When I look at him, where I would put him in? I would put him in Attorney General, because his track record for going after bad guys is just boss level. And if you put him, if somebody put him, or we had him in that position, he's going to go after the corporations. He's going to stand for individual rights, and he's a no back down kind of guy. His skill set, his best skill set, is being an attorney. Whether anybody likes him or not, I don't care. I don't really care what people think of other people personality wise. Look at their skill set, treat this as if it were a job interview, and put them in the position that gives them the best chance of accomplishing the goal, taking back the United States of America. Attorney General, he would be absolutely unbelievable in that role. And personally, he's a real nice guy to talk to. I mean, he's a defender of people's rights. And I would
except for the Second Amendment.
Yeah, we got a few problems there, but I mean, when you look at anybody, until you find Jesus Christ putting a foot on this earth, I'm pretty sure we're always going to find a reason to disagree with people. And as long as you've got people that understand it. I mean, Doug Burgum was the one who developed the app to track down those violators of the red flag laws. And President Trump, his thing that I ding him at, but I don't really ding him at it, he's never made one good endorsement. And so what I think he's doing is directing our attention, instead of having people look at endorsements as, oh, go vote for this person, go vote for that person, and building silos. He doesn't do that. And that's one of his greatest strengths. He directs our attention so that we can look at people and dig down for ourselves and say, yeah, I don't think so. I want to be around this guy, right? I don't think this is a good plan.
Well, all 11 of us are seeking his endorsement. We made a video for him, so
I will pray that you don't get it.
Maybe not endorsing us is an endorsement.
Yeah, I really think it is. If he
I'm not endorsed by Trump.
If you're not endorsed by President Trump, though I love him and I am an unapologetic President Trump supporter, whenever he endorses something, that tells me who is a beast level researcher, look into their history and find out why he's directing our attention to this person, because I think we have a problem there. And so I'm happy right now that he hasn't endorsed you, and I hope he doesn't endorse you, because he hasn't been stellar on his endorsements, and it usually comes out after the fact, and usually it's the village idiots that follow that sort of thing instead of looking into what he's actually saying, just like General Flynn. The ones that say, oh, he's a bad guy, that's the village idiot class. They haven't looked into what's actually happened there. And who is attacking him? Why are they attacking them? What do they got to hide? When you've got the top intelligence guy, he's not an idiot. This guy's the smartest guy in the room anywhere you go. He knows what's going on. So there you go. There you go. Donna's rant for the morning.
Yeah, we're down to the last minute or so, but there's one thing that we didn't discuss that was really groundbreaking, and that was the ruling on the Chevron doctrine. And that really puts a hurting on the deep state. Yeah.
That was really
one more
huge
thing. They ruled on the obstruction law, but this is what I just, it came to me over the weekend. I'm like, did the federal government just orchestrate a hostage exchange by the rulings where that obstruction, whatever it is, US 1512, is not applicable, and a lot of the J6ers are going to be released, but yet they ruled against Bannon? So did we just trade Bannon for a couple of hundred J6ers? I don't know.
But it's a good question to ask, and it's like
Ponzi reports. You decide. And you have Ketanji Brown, whatever her name is. She's on our side, and Amy Coney's soccer mom with 11 kids and a huge threat surface, which I think she was a terrible choice because of the size of her threat surface. She's voting with the radical leftists.
Surprise.
They're just trying to confuse and muddle everything.
Well, I hate to say it, but it's like, I'm a very committed Christian, and I don't make any apologies for that either. But when somebody comes out there and that becomes the rallying point. Oh, she's one of us. She's one of us. She says, you better look into her background a little bit, because anybody can say anything. Doesn't mean there's any truth to it all. These people are liars. They are the children of the father of all lies, Satan himself, and their native tongue is lying. And so you can't believe what anybody says. And I always tell people, you really have to look into these people and their backgrounds and who they are, who they're connected to, what they've actually done, to find out who you're really talking to, because Satan himself comes as an angel of light. And I'm waiting for the mean tweets. I love the mean tweets as Donald J. Trump, the rightful president of the United States, takes office and hauls tail on all of these usurping traitors. And I'm hoping that all of them, that it's like, I hope all of them go and pray to the altar of Saint Gitmo and never leave again. It's like, send them to Gitmo. They can go pray to the altar of Saint Gitmo down there and kiss their sorry behinds goodbye, make the appointment with God and let him sort them out. It's like, I really feel that way. Goodbye. Bye-bye, traitors. So.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then.
All right.
Well, it's that was a riveting hour.
Yes.
I heard you having more. I heard you having Marley on the 8th.
Yeah, I've got Marley coming on the 8th. And see, this is really, I believe that actually people are actually watching BNN and that they're looking at my guest list, because we had a guy that's got a podcast that all of a sudden he mirrored some of my podcasts. And so he was looking at it, and then Bannon, after I had Bruce Castor on, he got Marley and himself, or they got Marley and himself on like 2 or 3 days later. It's kind of funny. So I'm glad you guys are watching. That's fantastic.
It was funny too. Remember when you were with Jonathan Cagle, and I was bringing up the Dungaree cartel and Dan Goldman.
Yeah,
Pasobic had it on like immediately after that. But
they're watching. So hi guys, I'm glad we're fighting together, because you know what? It's a team effort. So it's like, if we're on a hockey, on a hockey the ice, and I slap the pucks down ice or something like that, grab it and sink that puppy into the net, because you know what? I don't care. I want to go back to just being able to shovel horse crap. And if somebody else wants to pick it up and run with it, by all means. We need to take back the United States of America, and we're all the same team.
I think it was either, we got to take shots. I think it was Mario Lemieux who said it, or it might have been Gretzky. You miss 100% of all the shots you don't take.
There you go. That's right. You just got to keep out.
All right, I'll end it on that.
So, yeah, we'll end it on that. Thank you so very much, sir. I will see you next week, Monday, as usual, with the wonderful. I just love you. I think you're great. You do such a good job, and
same here.
I look forward to next week, Monday. So you have a great.
I need help. VoteBonji.com. They're going to put $500,000 Soros money. Someone in Congress, we were talking about this race. He said, honestly, it's one of the top 200 races or so in the country. And he said Soros will put $500,000 to keep the incumbent SOE of Palm Beach County in power. So votebonji.com. That's BONGI.com. $5, $10, whatever you can afford. Pray for me if you can't afford anything. We have to take back the counties at the SOE level, and we have to expose the fraud. They're going to do anything they can to stay in power so the fraud is not exposed.
So anybody that votes for Jeff Buongiorno proves that they're not part of the village idiots out there. So there you go.
Yeah. I could take donations from the entire country, especially Michigan.
Oh, well, there you go. So bye, guys.
BONGI.com.
And we'll be right back. Good morning and welcome back to Brandenburg News Network. Second hour. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the first day of July 2024. Getting ready for Independence Day. It's fantastic. And I want to bring my next guest on, Jean Zott, and we're going to talk about all kinds of things today, especially concerning, this is breaking news. Get your buddies and friends to watch this, because I think that the influence that Macomb County has on our elections in Michigan is undeniable. It's undeniable. So I wanted to let you know that the clerk of Macomb County, Stanley Grott, has been stripped of his election duties, it appears. And his quote is, "I intend not to abide by the instructions." And I'm going to bring on Jean Zott, and we're going to talk about this. Hey, Jean, how you doing?
I'm good. Hi,
Good.
Donna.
Welcome to the show today. This is
Thank
so
you.
nice you're joining us.
Yeah. I just want to clarify that Stan Grott is the clerk for Shelby Township, Michigan.
Oh, Shelby Township. Thank
Yes.
you for
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification there. So Shelby Township, which has a huge influence in Macomb County. I mean, you can't just go after one end, because they're all connected. They're all working together. And what I've seen over the years of some of the things that Stan Grott has done, it literally defies explanation that he has the audacity to do some of the things that he's done, and it's shocking. But please introduce yourself to everybody a little bit, and then we'll go into some of this information. And tell me what links that you'd like me to put up, because I've got them all queued up, and
Okay.
we can watch videos. We can look at all kinds of stuff today.
All right. So my name is Jean Zott, and I am running for the Michigan House of Representatives for District 59, which is Shelby Township and Northern Macomb Township. I'm running as a fiscal conservative. I'm a retired CPA and controller. I worked for Joe Randazzo's Fruit and Vegetable, Michigan's largest retail produce company in Detroit, for 30 years. I retired in 2018 to help care for my mother. My sister and I were caring for her in her home. And now she's in long-term care. So it's been 6 years since I left the workforce. During that time, though, I've always had my small business. I do tax returns and small business accounting. I've had that since I got my license back in the 80s. A couple years ago, I started getting involved in local politics. I was watching some of the things that were going on in Shelby Township, particularly election integrity. And it was the special election between when Doug Wozniak had stepped up to the Senate, and there was a hole in the House. And Terry McCoskey and Sylvia Grott were in that election primary.
Who I should say is running for a sheriff right now.
Yes.
Macomb County Sheriff, I believe.
Yes,
and he is an excellent, upstanding individual. I love Terry and Anna. Terry has one of the best wives that he could possibly have ever chosen, and just a really nice family. But he's qualified. His background is qualified. And the fact that Stan won over Terry defies any logic.
Well, what happened is that Terry did beat Sylvia Grott in that special election.
Sylvia, I'm sorry, not Stanley. I kind of put the two of them together because
not easily. What happened was they had put so much money behind Sylvia. He had spent, I want to say, close to $60,000 on mailers. I was getting a mailer in them like almost every couple days. And I started researching her. At the time, I didn't know much about the Grotts at all. I was getting negative mailers against Terry from Stan's PAC, which to me just was appalling, because he's the clerk. Isn't he supposed to be impartial? And he's supposed to be staying out of this, but he's the one counting the votes, and his PAC is sending out negative material against the other candidate.
Little conflict of interest there.
Yes. So at that time, I ended up writing a piece called "Why a Primary is Important," and I posted it on Facebook. Tons of people saw it. It got turned into an email. It was forwarded. A lot of people started asking me about the election, because I didn't know Terry. I didn't know Sylvia Grott. I didn't know anybody. I was calling the people that were endorsing her. Nobody would tell me why they were endorsing her. She had no qualifications for this job at all. She had never held a job. She had never graduated from college. She had no philanthropy experience, board member or anything like that. Or anything that she was doing within the township or the government, like beautification committee or planning or anything like that. So it's like, okay, this woman is going to Lansing to represent our district. What is going on here? And So I was onto something. I didn't know anything about the Grats, but when I started poking that bear, man, I felt it. Terry ultimately won that election by 300 votes. People were very surprised because there was so much money put in on Sylvia's campaign, but he actually ended up winning. And he's held that seat for that special election period until the next election, which in 2022, Doug Wozniak came down from the Senate and took that seat back, and he's currently holding that seat now. I am trying to primary him out. I actually did not think he was going to be running. I thought he would retire. He is 79 years old, and he's been in politics forever. But I think he was a seat holder for Sylvia. I think she was going to try again, but that is not why I decided to run. I was encouraged by the people in Shelby Township to run, and I said no for 6 months. I said, no, not interested. They wanted me to run for treasurer or trustee. But after 6 months, I started feeling that little tap on my shoulder, like many of us do, that maybe that I had something more to offer. I'm only 60 years old. I retired early, and I thought, maybe I can do this. And I didn't think I was qualified at the time. I met a state senator at a district meeting, and he talked to me, and also Terry was also, we had started becoming friends at that time, and I was encouraged to run. And so I started researching what it looked like to be a state rep. And I went up to Lansing. I sat in on session. I toured the grounds, started studying anything I could get my hands on. What does a state representative do? And then I was told by a number of people that Jean, you are more qualified than most people up there as somebody with your background and education. And then I found out there's no CPAs in the House or Senate. So that's when I threw my hat in the ring, thinking
that explains a lot why everything's done so poorly. Is that you've got, and I'm gonna back to this point again, because I think this is significant. When you look at people that are connected, there's always a puppet master sitting at the top. And that's where I come back to Stan Grott all the time. And when I say that there's a problem there, it seems like he's got these proxies around him. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is when you've got to be able to identify the target of problem, right? The target of problem is almost, they'll almost sit behind the scenes and they're moving things around, right?
Yes,
you've got
like a chessboard.
You've got puppets and you've got puppet masters. And so every time I see something going on over there in Macomb, and specifically, like you said, to your point, Shelby County. And I hate to say this is one of the bad things about being from West Michigan. Everything east of Detroit or east of Lansing is Detroit to us. Okay. And so it's like this sprawling metropolis of things that just keep running into each other and such. And I understand that there's of the borders there and such, but there's always puppet masters that are moving people around. The target isn't necessarily even the people that are out in front. You've got to do your evaluation of who's really behind this. And when General Flynn says that all politics are local, the township clerks, from what I've seen across the state of Michigan, the township clerks there's a problem. I believe we had 30% of them that resigned after the last election, which tells me, and I can't get them to talk to me, what do they know? What are they hiding? And who is pulling the levers on this thing? It appears to me to be that we've got a real problem there. And when you see the conflicts of interest, you can pretty much connect everything together and say, this person or these persons need to absolutely be confronted with this, because they're the puppet masters that are pulling the levers.
Well, I didn't kiss the ring. So I did not kiss Stan Grott is the kingmaker of Macomb County, where he is the one that's selecting who's going to be in the next seat.
And to your point, it's Macomb County. This is bigger than what a lot of people think it is.
Right. Now, so I think, in my opinion, he has been desperately trying to find a full-time position for his wife in case the elector case goes bad. He's 72. She's much younger than him. And a full-time position at the state legislature with health benefits and everything solves a lot of his problems. But back in 2022, in the general election, in the primary, she ended up putting her hat in for county commissioner. So after she lost the state house race against Terry, now she's going for county commissioner. She was going against an incumbent named Jeff Farrington. He, as far as I knew, they're not in my district. Don Brown is my commissioner. But as far as I know about Jeff Farrington, there was no issues. People didn't have any problem with him. So she's going to try to primary him out. So I reposted my feelings about this unqualified individual that was now going to be in charge of one of the Michigan's largest county budgets. I mean, let's face it, Macomb County is a big county, and we have $1 billion budget. So here we've got this person again trying to get a position. I reposted all my information about her lack of qualifications. The next morning, this is in the primary, I get a nasty Facebook message from Stan Grott saying, "Who are you? Are you a cleaning lady? Crawl under a rock. Nobody cares what you think." I actually forwarded you the actual Facebook message in the PDF. It was, I think when I responded to him in these messages, I held my ground and I did not sink to his level, because I don't believe in name calling and all that and spewing lies. I was just telling the truth. So what he didn't expect me to do was take that public. And I actually went to the Shelby Township board meetings and read what he sent me.
I remember that.
I was very nervous, but you know what? I didn't know that I was dealing with this Shelby Township, bully. Anyway, fast
forward. Situation going on there.
I filed an ethics complaint I was advised to file an ethics complaint. I did that. And guess what? Not one person on Shelby Township trustee board would vote on this ethics complaint. First of all, he was attacking a voter in Shelby Township for having an opinion about a candidate in the race. He's supposed to be independent. He's not supposed to have an opinion. But I was attacking his wife, but I wasn't really attacking her. I was just pointing out the lack of her qualifications. So he spewed some lies about me. He said I was making fun of her accent and some other things, and none of that was true. Matter of fact, I'm 25% Polish, so I don't know what he's talking about. I would never make fun of somebody's accent. That election happened. Of course, Shelby Township is notorious for not pulling their numbers in until the middle of the night. Sylvia Grott.
There's a track record there for a long time on that, isn't there?
Yes. So all of a sudden the polls closed. Sylvia lost when the polls closed. All of a sudden now, in the middle of the night, she wins by 40 votes. And who's counting the votes? Stan Grott. Now, do I have any evidence that he did anything wrong? I do not. I do have several people tell me that he was acting very erratic that night.
Well, regardless, just as close as he is to this, he should have had no part in this whatsoever. You have to have degrees of separation. That's just like what they're doing with Dominion machines, Hart, ESNS, and all of this, where they have their own people auditing or their fingers on the pulse of this the whole way through. There's no possible way that you can have a objective interaction in this.
Well, and I think Shelby Township residents, a lot of people did not believe she won and thought that Farrington would challenge it, but he never did. I don't know why. Once she won the primary, Shelby Township is very red. It's very Republican. She won the general election on a straight ticket. So now, here we are, 2023 and 24, we have Sylvia Grott as a county commissioner. And now she's running again for re-election against a couple different people. One of them is a friend of mine, Mike Flynn. Also, Stanley Grott is running again for township clerk, and he's running against a couple people I know. I am running against Doug Wozniak, who I believe is a seat holder for Sylvia to go to the House. So the people that are in this election that did not kiss the ring, that are not the pre-selected people to fill these spots, I truly believe that they are at risk for having somebody have their thumb on the scale. I don't have evidence of that. So I want to make myself clear, because Stan Grott is very, very well known for suing people. So I am not saying I have any evidence. But what I do have is a letter from the Board of Elections, from the Department of State, instructing Stan to stand down from the elections until his legal matters are resolved. Now, I don't have any opinion on all these felonies he's charged with, but I do have an opinion on the fact that this says the Director of Elections is authorized to act at the Secretary's behest with respect to the supervision and the administration of the election laws. So they have the authority to issue this directive. This was issued July 20th, 2023. It was sent to Stan Grott, Anthony Forlini, who is Macomb County's clerk, and it was also sent to Rick Stathakis, Macomb or Shelby Township supervisor. Nobody is enforcing this. After this order was issued, there was a picketers outside Shelby Township's board meeting, at the meeting following the issuance of this order, ordering Stan to step down completely from his position. The Board of Elections did not say he couldn't keep his job. They just said, hands off for elections. People were picketing. They were speaking out. I actually spoke at that board meeting, which coincidentally they could not film because of technical issues. So I don't think that's available online, but isn't that funny? But when I spoke at that meeting, I even spoke up about the fact that they had put his deputy clerk, Craig, in charge of elections. Craig, I saw him Friday. He's on the election trail with Stan and Sylvia. He contributes to Stan and Sylvia's campaign. He is a friend of Stan and Sylvia's. To put somebody's friend and campaign worker and campaign contributor in charge of the election to make it safe, he also works for Stan. So he's at his, like, this is insane to me that this is how they're solving the problem. But guess what? It doesn't matter that they put Craig in charge, because Stan hasn't stepped down. I have pointed out the evidence of this to Shelby Township. One, okay, there's the order that you're putting up. It's a 3-page order. It also instructs what he is allowed and what he's not allowed to do. Interesting enough, I talked to a Shelby Township trustee about this, and she told me that they are forwarding this order and my complaint to the township attorney. Okay, can they not read? Can Rick Stathakis and the trustees not read this order? What Stan is doing is he has posted on the Shelby Township website, I have sent a screenshot, that to mail your completed absentee voter application to Stanley Grott, Township Clerk, with his address. That has never been changed since this order over a year ago. So let's not say that we didn't have time to change it, because I just recently, it probably is still up to date if you go to the elections website for Shelby Township. So that
I've got it right here, in fact.
Yeah.
So this is when I was looking at what you sent over for the evidence of what's happening there. It is absolutely shocking, people.
Shocking.
On here it is. It's like he's not supposed to have any involvement, and he's got right here, mail completed applications to Stan Grott.
Just blatantly ignoring the order. Now, I also see that you're going to put up a Channel 4 interview that happened right when they stripped him. In that interview, he said he was going to comply with this order, which he is not. The other thing that happened, it was the last time we get this little newspaper called C&G. They have different issues for each community. There's Shelby Utica News. There's a Macomb Township issue. And in that little free newspaper we get in our mailbox, they publish notices by the township. So in the last issue, they published the notice of registration for the election to be held on Tuesday, August 6, 2024, Shelby Township, Michigan, signed by Stanley Grott. Wait, you are not supposed to be involved in this election at all. You just signed this document that you had published in the newspaper. In addition, Shelby TV last week posted a video of Stan Grott explaining to everybody how to submit their absentee ballots. What is going on? Where is the Board of Elections? I have sent a complaint to them. I've emailed them. Nothing. I've heard nothing. I've even told people this is a matter of urgency. The absentee ballots went out. They arrived on Saturday. I know that because my flyer arrived the same day that the absentee ballots arrived. I cannot believe that we have an order that is not being enforced by Anthony Forlini, by Rick Stathakis, by the trustees. Everybody's ignoring it. A year ago, people were picketing outside. And Stan Grott saying, I'll comply and comply. But now when we have this election coming up and he sees his wife's at risk, he sees Doug Wozniak's seat's at risk, and he sees his own seat is at risk, now he's got to be all in. His deputy clerk told a trustee that he wanted to store the absentee ballots in Stan Grott's office. Okay. What? I don't know how to fix this. I'm speechless.
Yes.
Where do I go? I've gone to the Board of Elections. I've gone to Shelby Township. I've been speaking about this. I've gone to board meetings and speaking about it. Nothing's happening.
Well, I think you need a bunch of people around you that are willing to go with you and stand in front of them and do a little personal filibuster there and refuse to sit down or leave, because this needs to be handled, right? How many people you need? About 200?
At least. Well, the other problem is that Stan Grott he cancels about 40% of township meetings.
Really?
So the next meeting, which is supposed to be, I think it was supposed to be this week or next week, canceled. We're not having it.
Doesn't want to face it, huh?
Well, and when Doug Wozniak was on the board, he was the sponsor of the 3-minute rule, which means that when a person goes to a township meeting as a citizen, they get 3 minutes to talk to the trustees. And I'll tell you, their city attorney, the township attorney, he has a little timer and he tells you when you've got 30 seconds left and they cut you off. And if you try to talk anymore, they gavel. So they canceled 2 meetings before the last one. I thought I should have got 9 minutes that night, but no. We only get 3.
They really can't do that. There's a law in the books called New York Times versus Sullivan that has proven that they have no right to cut you off. So you've got a potential lawsuit against all of them at this moment in time, because they can't tell you that you have to keep it to 3 minutes. They aren't some kings or queens, and we're not their subjects. They actually work for us, and they don't get to tell their boss, which would be you, standing there as you outrank them. They don't have the right to do that. So right now, all of them are in violation of the law who shut you down. And when they cut your mic off in a meeting, that's a violation also. So you can't, every time they do one of these things, they are absolutely breaking the law.
Well, their township attorney, who I believe is supposed to be working for the people, he's actually working for the board members. I can't, because they refer everything to him. So instead of,
isn't it strange how they always do that? Well, we can't answer this. Got to go to our attorney, and then the attorney puts a whole bunch of legalese into it, and gets everybody all kinds of confused, like there's some sort of a legal guru or something with the last say on it. And they're working for the Michigan Bar, which is unfortunately, that's not a government organization; it's a club.
Right. Well, I'm going to just tell you, myself and these other candidates that are running in Shelby Township, we're grassroots candidates. I took savings, my own savings. More than half my campaign has been funded by myself. Mike Flynn, who is running against Sylvia, he's self-funding his. He's probably funding most of his. He didn't even really have a fundraiser. John Robinson, who's running for clerk, same thing. I haven't seen him have a fundraiser yet. So he's self-funding. We all want a fair election, and to know that we're working hard, we're door knocking, we're spending our hard-earned money and trying to make a difference in the township to bring, fresh people into this. And we all feel like there could possibly be a thumb on the scale. And we need this to be fixed. I can tell you as a CPA, if the state of Michigan said that I had done something wrong and there was pending issue with me doing something wrong as a CPA, and they said, we need you to cease and desist from preparing tax returns or financial statements or whatever as a CPA, I wouldn't want to put my profession in jeopardy. I would comply until it was settled. I'd want it settled quickly so I could get back to work. Why is he violating the order? Why is Shelby Township allowing him to violate the order? And what is going on in the state of Michigan where they're not enforcing it? I have no answers.
Well, they haven't forced anything. I mean, at no point has our elections been carried out the way that they were intended. And when you look at the hacking that's going on, it's unbelievable. And thank you for the clarification for the clerk of Shelby County, Brian, also. So it's not Macomb County, it's Shelby Township. So
Shelby Township within Macomb County.
Yes, I appreciate for the clarification, guys. And so that's important. So I'm glad we got some fact checkers out there when I stumble over words here. So that's good. They haven't done anything right. And I don't think that we can, in fact, as long as we have machines in place, we will never have an election that's going to be reflective of what the people want. I don't think that it can be accomplished because those machines are attached to the internet. They can get in through the back door. They can come in. They can change things. They can leave. And anybody that's seated in the seats right now is truly going to be put in some sort of crosshairs for culpability in this sort of thing, because you can't run away from the lying, the cheating, the stealing of our elections, the disrespecting of the people that you say that you represent by standing with machines that absolutely cannot run in a way that is reliable. So, and then you see the nonsense going on with this sort of thing, and every single one of them need to be, I'll say it again, worshiping at the altar of St. Gitmo down there and on a one-way ticket and not coming back, because this is treason.
Well, and the other thing I wanted to point out, and I see that you have it in your notes, is Stan Grott ran for Secretary of State. That's when he took a $200,000 payoff to not run for the Secretary of State. Now, he says it's a consulting fee. I think a lot of people do not believe it was a consulting fee. They believe it was a, hey, step down. Now, when he was running for Secretary of State, he did this video, and I think it was in Washington Township. And he talked about how clerks were gods, and talked about how these absentee ballots were so easily manipulated by clerks themselves. He even gave an example of a candidate in Detroit that lost when the polls closed and then won in the morning. And the fact that he so easily is talking about how easy it is for clerks to cheat in elections, and then we're all feeling like there might be a thumb on the scale here, especially with what happened with his wife winning by 40 votes.
Let's play this a minute. I've been having problems getting things up on YouTube this morning, actually, because I had some things queued up, but it's been doing this where it won't make the connection. So I'm going to
Oh.
see if this thing comes around. And I don't know why. It's one of those things that you look at and go, that's okay. We'll put the link out there and people can see exactly what was said. So
I actually taped it with my phone because I thought for sure somebody was going to take that down. That Stan would get to that person and have them take it down. I have talked to 3 clerks in the area, in the county, about how absentee ballots are processed, and they're always supposed to be under dual control, always. They should not have, anybody should not have singular control over them. There were rumors in the last election that Stan was coming in at 4 a.m. and emptying the ballot box. So dual control is absolutely necessary. I wish we also had cameras, public cameras on ballot boxes. I don't like these ballot boxes and the mail-in ballots to begin with, but I think they're here to stay unless there's some sort of change legally. I've been telling my friends, do not absentee vote. If you want to vote early, go there, go to the early voting precinct and feed your ballot into the machine. Throughout this journey over the last several months, I've used Facebook and to promote my campaign. It's the cheapest way for me to do it, actually, because I can put pictures out, my friends can see it, my friends can share it, but also my opponents can see who my friends are. Stan Grott can see who the voters are that are supporting me in Shelby Township. So I see that as a risk to our election.
let's see. I think I put it in another browser. Let's see if it'll go.
Please give a warm welcome to Stan Grott.
Thank you, Mary.
Mary
Thank you very
Sharon.
much. Well, I feel at home. I'm one of you. How many of you heard of the Romeo Area Tea Party?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. They had about 2,000 members at one time, and I was their advisor. I helped them to organize that group. And what happened is that group was doing extremely well, but at that point, the president passed away. And
We're going to get a community strike here if we don't talk over them a little bit.
And, that group made a big difference in Macomb County.
Do you know what the here?
I might be able to find it.
Republicans,
What's
conservative
that?
Republicans, and the right.
Let's see if we can get past the political BS here.
Yeah.
Where it says that if you can get the minute mark, we'll put that up there.
Yeah, I'm looking.
And
554. 554. He talks about how clerks are gods. Right there.
Actual work is done by local clerks. How would you feel if I tell you the clerks are gods when it comes to elections? Believe me, they are.
Well, he's kind of right on that one in a way, because that's how the Nazis took power in Nazi Germany. It was the clerks that were clerks that were really rigging the elections on the base level. And what I saw in the state of Michigan is just, if you look at it for strategy wise, it looks to me like there were a lot of good clerks that were set up to be the fall guys for this rigging of the election that's been going on. But I can't get anybody to talk to me in that group that resigned yet, because I think they're too afraid. You brought up a bunch of things on people being afraid to talk. People are afraid to talk that are behind the scenes. And I'm still wondering, I said, what are these people so afraid of? And then you can see some of it. You saw that Representative Massey's wife died under crazy circumstances, and there were some very disturbing posts that came out basically threatening him after his wife was deceased. And so I think that there's some real questions that we have to face here in the United States of America, realizing that our political climate is overwhelmingly involved in policies, tactics, etc., which look an awful lot like organized crime to me. And people are afraid. I want to know what they're afraid of. People need to step forward and say, this is what happened to me. Because if we're under threat and coercion from people, we've got a real problem. But to his point, they shouldn't be gods. They should be public servants, and they should act accordingly, not part of this machine that's taking down the United States of America. But there's a lot of power there in the township clerks, and there's a lot of complicity on the local levels. I can tell you that because I've seen it here in Byron Township.
Yeah, and back to the message that he sent me in July of 2022. This was one of the things that an attorney told me that I should have acted on immediately. He said, I'm talking to some of your neighbors. They have nothing good to say about you. All right, here is an elected official, a township clerk, telling me that he's going to my neighbors to find out information about me because I questioned the qualifications of a candidate. That's voter intimidation right there, right there. When my husband read this message, and he's seen what I've done over the past 2 years addressing the election integrity in Shelby Township, he said, Jean, I'm kind of worried. I don't want something to happen to you. And I said, what, a brick through our window? And he said, or worse. So I think people in the township know that I've been speaking out against it. That's why one of my core values in my election is courage, because we have to speak up regardless. Matter of fact, this week I got an email from Senator Runstead, and he's taking a survey from candidates. We just had the budget passed last week in the middle of the night with no notice. The Republicans had no time to read this. These are huge, 1,000-page documents that they're supposed to vote on in a few minutes. They get very little time. So what he wants is, he says, we should have a 72-hour rule in our legislature where a bill is presented and the public and everybody gets time to read it before they vote on it.
At least, this freight train of legislation is absolutely kneecapping this state. We have over 2,000 bills that go through our legislature a year. And I'm going to tell you what, when you look at the intelligence level of some of these people, they're not only are they not reading the bills, I don't think that they're capable of understanding what's in there. So they have like assistants that come up to them and tell them which way to vote. And right. Instead of knowing what they're voting for, all they have turned into is mouthpieces. And I want to know who's paying them to say and vote what they're voting for. If you don't know yourself and you haven't had time to read it and go over it, this is absurd. And the amount of legislation that they're looking at, the whole process is a train wreck. It's a dumpster fire.
A warm welcome to Stan Grote.
Is that me or is it you?
Yeah, it's you. It's you.
Is it me?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get rid of it here.
Well, I feel at home.
Oh, now it's up there, and now I can't get it to go away. Oh, there we go.
How many of you heard of the rodeo area?
Let me see if I can get it to come. Well, this is crazy.
Right.
So somebody got in my computer here or something.
And I was there.
We really want to hear it.
I hate him. I helped.
Oh, this is hilarious. That is hilarious. Well, hey, Stan. Clearly, you wanted to be back on Brandenburg News Network, the only news network that actually tells the truth.
So one of the things that I was thinking about this morning when I looked at this candidate survey was probably a lot of Republicans, sitting Republicans now think, well, if we take back the House, then we should just do the same thing. We should have this giant budget and throw it at them and tell them they have to vote on it without being able to have time to read it.
Doesn't that sound like a kindergartner?
Yes.
That's like, they take my marbles, I'm going to take their marbles.
So what's right is right. And again, here I'm speaking out, trying to be courageous and saying, okay, listen, Michigan Republicans, we need the 72-hour rule and they need the 72-hour rule. I am quite clear that a lot of Democrats did not know what was in this bill. Like there was $400 and some $1,000 to fund a private gun club. The Democrats voted on that. a private gun club. Like, so you've got a lot of Democrats that want to add restrictions, but yet they voted on this. They also voted on no school security, no funding for school security. But we've got tampons in boys' bathrooms in schools now. So the insanity of this budget. Last year, we had 7 swimming pools. And I'm sure you'll like this. We have an equestrian center in Detroit, which equestrian centers are great. Everybody loves horses, I think. But should the state of Michigan be funding an equestrian center in Detroit?
They should not. And the reason being is that the state budget should benefit all people of the state of Michigan, not special. And I'm a horse person. I've got an equestrian, I've got a stable. I've got
a swimming pool.
I rescue and I pay for this out of my own pocket.
Me too. Right? I pay for my pool.
And so, yeah. And so it's like all of those things should be privately funded. But you know what? The problem is that I actually have been looking into the tax rate right now. And I think what people don't realize, they're like, oh, we're 30% taxes. No, you're not.
We have 60 different taxes in the state of Michigan. 60.
I think if you actually looked at it realistically, I think we're above 85%. And if you really, and that's everyone, they just don't realize how they're getting taxed.
Right. They're slipping them in everywhere.
They're slipping all of these discretionary taxes in everywhere. This is not what we think. 30%. We've got a 30% on the payroll of the state of Michigan. If that's not communism, I can't wake anybody up more than that. And then they weaponize all of this against us, their bosses. Are you kidding me?
Well, and the corporate welfare is ridiculous. I mean, we could talk about the Chinese battery plant and all that, but the corporate welfare, these no bid contracts, Governor Schneider said corporate welfare is the heroin of the legislature. And it absolutely is. This used to be something the Democrats were fighting against, but now they're fighting for it. We robbed the teacher pension fund this year by $600 million to put it towards something else. Did you know that teacher retirees in the state of Michigan are our biggest debtor, which means we don't have the money in our pension system to pay these teachers what we promised them? Here, I'm a Republican speaking out about teacher union pensions, saying you guys are robbing them because you have your other pet projects that you want to do. Cut the corporate welfare if you needed the $600 million. Don't cut the teacher retirees and kick it down the road for our kids and our kids' kids. Someday we're going to have to pay these pensions.
Someday this is going to fall all to the ground, because I can tell you what, I was involved in a pension that was looted, which was the Central States Teamsters. I was directly affected by this. It was the Teamsters that looted their own pension. And so this goes into, remember, you've got to check into who you're putting your trust in. And just because they slap a label on it and say we're fighting for you doesn't mean that they are at all. And this comes out of the ERISA Act from 1972. And what happened was they wrote this in, and I believe it was with the foreknowledge that they were going to give the power to loot the pensions by the management of the ones that were supposed to administer it. And what's going to be really scary to people, I'm going to pull something up that's going to be shocking to people. And whatever your opinion is on the U.S. debt clock, I think that this is one of those things that everybody better become smack dab aware of the fact that you have been lied to in such a massive way. And I don't have anything against the good teachers that are out there that aren't pushing gender queer or whatever the heck it is. There's a book out there called Gender Queer, and it shows kids giving each other blowjobs and all this other stuff. And I'm like, this is in our schools? Are you kidding me? Being taught by teachers? I'm sure that there are a bunch of teachers that are being forced into doing this that are absolutely horrified by this. But I want you to look at this, that we talk all the time about, let me see if I can get the whole view here.
I'm zeroing in here on the price of a home and housing. Did you know that housing, like 30% of the cost can be related to government regulation
Yes.
and permitting.
Everything that we put our money into, the cost of things goes up because the employer has to pay bills on this, and it never shows up as a tax.
Right.
It's a fee. It's a license.
It's a permit. Just like in Macomb County, they are trying to put a tax on your cell phone bill because for 911 services. Well, 911 services are part of safety. They should be part of police and fire. I have 2 kids that live out of state, one in Vermont and one in Colorado. But yet, if they do this cell phone tax, then I'm paying for cell phone tax on a phone that isn't even being used in the county. But what they're doing is they're taking those funds that they need for 911 out of the county budget, out of police and fire, or wherever that money was originally being paid from. And then they can spend more money within that budget because now they've got this special fee.
And you never see where it's going.
The state of Michigan's trying to do that with the water bill. They want to add a $3 per meter per month to your water bill. Macomb County already has a program for people that can't pay their water bill. But I want to get back to this point at the state of Michigan level. We have programs if you can't pay for daycare. We have programs if you can't pay for your rent. We have a home heating credit. We have an earned income credit. We have food assistance. We have Medicaid for health assistance. We have WIC. We have all these different programs that are spread across, and we have free lunches in schools. We don't even know how much money that we are giving people in need because it's spread all across these different departments. It should all be under Health and Human Services. We should not be relying on our school districts and the state of Michigan funding through the school for food insecurity. That should be back at Health and Human Services. Pamela Pugh, who is in charge of one of the Department of Education unit. She herself, a Democrat, was calling out Whitmer and the administration about the 2 education departments the state of Michigan now has. One draws from the other. What we keep doing when we're doing something wrong is Whitmer says, oh, we're doing something wrong. Oh, I guess we are doing something wrong. Let's start a new department. Mm-hmm. Well, I worked in the corporate world. Okay, if we had a department in the company I worked for at Randazzo's, we didn't start a new department to make up for what the old department was doing wrong. We addressed the problem at the core. But in Michigan, we just keep starting new departments. And to your point, we keep adding people to the payroll in the state of Michigan because we got a new department for that.
And look who votes for that, Jean. It's the people. It's just the same thing we had in the Revolutionary War. It's the loyalists who are actually getting paid from the system that vote for this in. We have really been outnumbered. Those of us that actually pay taxes on things that we build are and I'm not saying they don't pay taxes, but they pay taxes, but the tax money is given them to pay back into the system. I mean, it's double dipping. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. But I'm right there with you with this disgust on how it's run because they continue to add more laws instead of enforcing the ones that we have. They add more departments. We need to go to nullification about 85% of what's out there right now, and then the problem will get solved.
Okay, and in addition, we have antiquated departments. Why is the state of Michigan still doing liquor control? Why are we still the distributor? Why? They just had a story a couple months ago, $1 million in liquors missing. You know what? There wasn't a bunch of guys with black hoodies and ski masks that snuck into the state of Michigan warehouse and stole $1 million. That was employee theft. We know it. It was not. I mean, how else could $1 million? Now, people with what I heard some people say is, well, it's only $1 million. It's only a drop in the bucket. Really?
Do you understand how ignorant that statement is?
You're telling the working poor and the middle class that $1 million is a drop in the bucket. That's a drop in the bucket. Well, yeah, when you're looking at our bloated 80-some billion dollar budget, yeah, it is a drop in the bucket. But you know how you save money? $1 at a time. That's how you save money. How do
you get to that $86 billion? You get to it from $1 million being laundered here, $1 million there, Ukraine, blah, 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 blah. And we get no benefit out of it. I want to show you something here a minute. So here's the national debt right there. And watch it go up. But what's really telling, and this is to your point when you were talking about the pensions and etc. If anybody that was promised a pension thinks this is going to end well, I got a lot of news for you. Check this out. We've got millions, billions, trillions, $216 trillion in unfunded liabilities. And the liability per citizen, I want you to think about this. $643,000 each person in the state of Michigan is on the hook for. Do you honestly think that this is going to end well for anyone? And I mean for anyone. And I want to have you look at this too, because when you look at the dollar to gold ratio as well as the dollar to silver ratio right now, the dollar to silver ratio, 234 per ounce. There's something going on here, guys, that nobody's talking about as they rope us, gang us, and rope us, gag us, and hang us from the trees. It's not what we think that is happening.
And the state of Michigan also has a new program, Donna. You might have talked about this on your show. If you have an extra bedroom in your house, you can participate in the state of Michigan's newcomer program.
Yes,
you yourself could get paid $500 a month to go to the airport and welcome newcomers from the border. And you would help them get their medical care, enroll their kids for school, make sure they have all the food they need, and you get paid $500 a month. Now, you don't even have to be a legal U.S. citizen to participate in this program.
And isn't that like harboring? I think we can go back to the Constitution on that, guys.
We are paying illegal aliens $500 a month to house more illegal aliens. What? I have a niece who just recently, she met a man in Wales a couple of years ago, and they had this long distance relationship. They got married right before the new year. So now he's here on a marriage visa. They have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to process this marriage visa. She needs evidence that they've had a relationship. Aunt Jean, please send me pictures of me and John together. So she's going through the process. The crazy thing about this process is he's not allowed to work. Now, he's a 30-some-year-old man who is willing to do construction, Uber, anything. But while he's waiting on this marriage visa, he cannot leave the country and he cannot work. How does this make any sense?
It makes sense in that they're funding an invasion of the United States of America through these policies, and I don't know. I think somebody better start talking nope on a rope right now and hauling this thing back into a proper legal process. I mean, we're on a crash course with absolute destruction of this nation, if we haven't already hit it. And it's too bad, but sometimes people have to be shown what they think that they want. I think we are right there, and hopefully people wise up a little bit here and quickly. Yes. I think it's important for everyone to quickly wake up. This isn't we're just going to sit back and go play full time. I think it's time to get into this fight with the rest of us who have gotten battered and bruised and kicked off everything. And we keep fighting because, you know what, our country is worth fighting for. So all of the negative things that we see, just because you see a negative thing, that's not when you quit. I was having a discussion yesterday with somebody about what it takes to actually be successful. When you are about to think that all hope is lost and everything is failing and such, that's not when you quit. That means you're on the verge of success and you kick it into overdrive and jump across that line at that moment. If you can't function that way, you will never be successful in any endeavor that you are involved in. And as soon as it gets tough, kick it in because you're about ready to have a breakthrough. And that's also when you see miracles from God flow to you, because he does bless intention. So, when we put ourselves out there and we say we're willing to follow God, follow his path that he lays in front of us, no matter what, no matter what we think, see, or feel, get caught up in the fee wings or anything else like that. You have to make a commitment and refuse to waver. You've got to continue on until there's absolutely no other options. And when that happens, a window will open.
It did yesterday, Donna.
There's always a window that God will open when we face difficult circumstances. I'm still praying that this entire system just comes crashing to the ground. I've been praying for it for years. We are in a very, very corrupt system, and it's not Democrats against Republicans. Who stood up for President Trump when they stole the election in 2020? Not a damn one of them. None of them did it on the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, because they were all working together. Now, since that time, I think we've seen actual Republicans and people that are willing to, and I'm not even going to say Republicans, actual Americans across the board step up and realize that we aren't fighting for the Republican Party, the Democrat Party. We're fighting for the lifeblood of America itself. And that fight is against good versus evil. And you either stand on the side of good or you stand on the side of evil. There's no middle ground here anymore. There's no allegiance to some worshipped organization or some worship this, that, and the other thing. There are organizations we can be a part of that have to be involved in fighting for that good over evil metric. I mean, that's what we all have to be fighting for God and the war that they have launched against God himself. That's the war we're at. And the fact that we need to see things done the right way, not in the win at all cost way that we saw with what has been going on there in Shelby Township in Macomb County and in so many other places across the United States and Michigan in general. We've seen it in Kent County. We've seen it in probably most of the counties in the state of Michigan. I actually have a report on the state of Michigan, which I paid for with to find out where the failings were. I haven't thrown it up there or thrown it out publicly yet to show where the most likelihood of cheating was because of certain key factors that you can look into and say there's definitely cheating going on there. And this is where we saw it the most, where we can look at and say the elections were absolutely, no question, not carried out in an honest and fair manner. But the fight is, I want to encourage Democrats, constitutionalists, libertarians, though they had a bad fail at who they put in place for their presidential candidate, and they sat there and they laughed and booed at the rightful president of the United States. All I can say is right then and there, y'all failed badly because we're not fighting for a candidate per se. We're fighting for the lifeblood of what America stands for. And when we see somebody like President Trump, who was absolutely attacked brutally and was robbed of his rightful state, I don't care who was sitting in that seat. If you were sitting in that seat, Gene, we should have all rallied behind the seat of the president of the United States and all the other down ballot candidates who were robbed of their right to that office, the right for everybody's vote to count in we the people, and stand together and say, we're not putting up with this win it all case cheating that's going on. We want free and fair elections, and it needs to go in that direction or we're going to lose this country. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, yesterday, Terry McCoskey and I and his wife, Anna, we were at Jimmy John's baseball field for Run Against Drugs, put on against Families Against Narcotics. And I was talking to Anna about my frustration with the Board of Elections and the Bureau of Elections and Shelby Township's board. And she grabbed my hand and she said, Jean, just give it over to God. And I go, I'm trying. And then 5 minutes later, her or Terry said something to Danny, and Danny goes, Donna Brandenburg probably wants to hear about this. And I was like, okay, Anna's right. Just give it over to God. So today we get to talk about it. Hopefully this will make a difference. Hopefully this will get somebody's attention. I don't know how
Got
to
my attention, so there
got
you
your
go.
attention,
We'll
and
see what happens.
that's
It
a lot.
usually
That's a
jumps
lot.
off, springboards off of that and goes to Bannon or somebody else with a larger audience, which I
And
think is great. We're all on the same team.
And I just want to say the candidates for in Shelby Township that are on the Shelby Township ballot that are not the pre-selected kiss the ring candidates, the incumbents, we are the grassroots people and we are fresh to this race. We just want a fair election. We want to know that every ballot that is cast is counted. We want to make sure nobody's marking a ballot saying, oh, this is ineligible. We want to make sure absentee ballots aren't being stored in some back room and come out when the polls close. We want a fair election, and we want the state of Michigan and Shelby Township to enforce this order. It's clearly, I don't need an attorney to tell me that this is enforceable. The Director of Elections is authorized to act at the Secretary's behest with respect to the supervision and the administration of the election laws. MCL 168.32. I don't need the township attorney. Rick Stathakis doesn't need the township attorney. Anthony Forlini doesn't need the township attorney. We need some independent people in Shelby Township to supervise this election. And Stan Grott needs his ballot box keys taken away, and he needs to be distanced from this election. That video about the YouTube video about him and absentee ballots, that needs to come down. Shame on Shelby TV. They knew this order was in effect too. They're all assisting him in this violation. The CNG newspaper, they knew. All these newspapers and networks have covered the fact that he is barred from being in election. And they published this notice of registration too. So all these people that are just ignoring it for whatever reason, I don't know why they're all in on protecting this man. This stuff has to stop. We need a fair election.
Well, and I'm going to go back to this PDF of this, which you sent to me, which I think is fairly damning on his involvement on any level. I mean, it's kind of it's pretty crazy. And the Attorney General's office, it appears to me, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but this is my interpretation of this, just looking at this, is that
there's the Director of Elections.
It's establishing a pattern of activity is what it is. And can a person that has that many violations or questions, honestly, should they be entrusted with any part of our elections and or the process? My point is that, you know, when I see somebody, and I'm not saying that Stan Grott's a liar. I'm not going to say anything like that.
Me neither.
I'm not going to say that. But if I have enough questions on things, I don't need to have those ironclad answered. I need to look at this and say, well, it appears we have a problem here, and look at it and say, we don't just have one choice. We've got, how many people are in Shelby Township?
Oh gosh, 90,000, I think.
Okay, so you got about 100,000 people there. We'll just say, you know, we're going to round up 90 to 100,000 people there. There's got to be somebody else who's qualified to sit in that position and not just focus on the presented one option. It's just sort of like, you know, that's what they like to do, is they like to present us with one option and then discredit everybody else. Well, that's not the way it is. It's not the way that this works. We have all kinds of people that could step up into office on a local level and get this back in order. It sounds like we've got some great people there that are doing just that.
We're trying. Well, and on another note, I got a text Saturday night from John Robinson, who's running for Shelby Township Clerk against Stan. The police were coming to his house because someone was caught stealing his yard signs. And come on. What? How petty is that?
Well, not only that, is that it's kind of like, I got to tell you, when you run for office, it's really fun. You get to see all these bizarre behaviors of children, or I'm going to say crows. They're like crows. They go and they try to steal from each other's nests. I had so many yard signs stolen. It was not even funny.
Oh.
And I think this has become like a process that people are engaged in out there. They're stealing each other's signs and they're doing all sorts of things like that. But that doesn't mean that they're not stealing their own signs so that they can accuse somebody else. It's not as straight.
I guess that's true.
It's not as straightforward as what you would hope for.
Well, you'll never catch me stealing anybody's signs. I'm running on integrity and also on my faith. And you won't see me doing that.
When you play a straight game, God blesses you, and that's
let's hope so. I don't know if this journey is leading me to Lansing. I know it's leading me somewhere. Maybe it's not Lansing. But I'm not going to stop speaking out about things that I think are wrong. And, a lot of people criticize me because I'm speaking out against people in my own party. But you know what? You know how we lose? You know how Republicans lose constituents? By having bad Republicans in office. That's how. You have a Republican in office that doesn't have any integrity, that is cheating and lying and stealing. And when something happens in the news, let's say a drunk driving or anything like that, and they say it's an elected official, what's the first thing people do? They look at the letter after their name. Is it a D or is it an R? And we need to have candidates. Yeah, we need to have candidates that in our party, in the Republican Party or in the Independent Party and in the Democrat Party that are going to stand up on principles and not just
the Constitution Party.
Yes.
It's like truly it's a principled thing, and we need to stop with this party politics thing and stand as Americans. If we don't come together, we're done. We have to be able to reach across the aisle and talk to anybody and everybody, because we don't know a lot of times if the information is actually true because of the behavior you just described.
Right.
That's part of politics that it needs to stop. And shame on everybody who's engaged in this kind of behavior, because it's an attack. When you attack somebody like that, you're attacking Americans. You are literally attacking Americans. It's not only is there no integrity to it, and is it just blatantly wrong, but they're willing to destroy people's lives over win at all cost, instead of let's talk to them all. Let's get to the truth. How about Stan Grott comes on Brandenburg News Network and we talk to him about what he's done and find out by asking him some questions and finding out what if you've got an explanation to this. I would love that.
He said on Channel 4 News last summer, I will abide by their order. And he's not. What changed his mind? Why isn't he abiding by it?
Yeah, you can't say things and not stand behind it, or there better be a pretty darn good excuse for going away from something that's an order by the Board of Elections. And that's another thing. When we have rules and we have policies for a reason, we cannot live peacefully. The goal is to live peacefully with our neighbors, right? And to respect them. We don't have to agree with our neighbors. We don't have to agree with everything. That's kindergarten behavior. That really is. Or the 16-year-old's pom-pom squad, right? I'm sorry, it just is. And it's not adult. It's not an adult behavior. We have to be able to respect each other and say, well, you don't even have to respond. You can listen and say, well, that's interesting. Sometimes we don't even have to respond when somebody's talking out of their behind,
Well, he's been going to these delegate trying to rally up delegates in the township, in the county. And, I have friends that go to these meetings and they tell me what happens. And he's up there telling people that I'm a Democrat and don't vote for me. I'm a nasty woman. And my response to that is, what I want to do for the state of Michigan, it was with regards to taxes and cleaning up the budget, as the only CPA that would be in the House or the Senate, it does help Democrats. Yeah, Democrats should like me because nobody wants to waste money. You think Democrats want to waste money? No, they do not.
Representative of your constituents means everyone in your voting district. Yes. It doesn't mean you vote Republican or Democrat. You vote for your constituents. And I got to tell you, this whole precinct delegate thing I've got a lot of red flags on that. And it started when it's the truth. Maybe it's like things are supposed to work certain ways, but if they don't, you can't just keep running into the same brick wall. I went to the I call it the Michonne Maddock electioneering rally over there in Washington, and got in there, and it was very disturbing to me because I was listening to people in the VIP area talk about then, and they said it flat out straight to my face. This was about making the precinct delegates feel good so that they would vote for who the party told them to vote for. Flat out, it was said to me that way. So my word to precinct delegates is don't join into this subversion of the United States. This is absolutely subversion and sedition of the United States because you're listening to a political party telling you how to vote. You shouldn't have, they should be listening to you. This comes from the citizenry. This does not come from a party. You're there representing your constituents and within a party who is supposed to bring good candidates forward. It is not, these are the slates, these are our candidates you must vote for, or you're not a real Republican.
Right.
Which was said to me by Christina Caramo. You're not a real Republican.
Well, I had a House rep.
Any of these people that are in this system to take down the United States, that's taking it down by co-opting the parties. It's opposite. Precinct delegates talk to the constituents. What do you want me to do to represent you? And goes to the party and said, this is what we want. And the party is supposed to be listening to this. They're not supposed to be dictating policy and candidates. Right. This is wrong.
Right. Well, I had a Michigan House representative come up to me at the Calta County convention we had a couple months ago. And she said to me, Jean, you should drop out of this race.
Oh, they always tell you that. Everybody tells you that.
She says, you should drop out of this race. Doug Wozniak is valuable to our constituency, and you should wait 2 years. And I looked at her and I said, that's not how this works.
Right.
He has to earn his seat again. He doesn't get to just say, I get to keep it until I'm termed out.
But they have the entrenched little political mafia going on who protects each other and stuff. You think they're going to rat each other out? Not a chance, because they've all got dirt on each other. All of them do. And it's so corrupt and so dirty. It's unbelievable. Actually, I had one of our ex-governors say to me, what were you thinking running for governor with no political connection? I'm like, yeah, I was actually the only true outsider. I was connected to no one. I'd never been to a political event. But why was that? Why should that disqualify somebody? Doesn't that prove that they're not maybe part of the establishment? And boy, did that make a lot of people mad. What? Somebody has the audacity who's a citizen to run for governor? Who does she think she is?
Exactly. That's what they're saying about me.
That's exactly what was told to me by that governor. He said, you need to go work for Mike Rogers and earn your stripes. I'm like, yeah, snowball's chance in hell that's going to happen. And, it's just, but that's what all actual candidates that aren't part of this machine get told over and over and over again. Who do you think you are?
Yes.
An American?
Well, I can tell you from my journey,
maybe that's good enough.
For my journey, I would never tell anybody not to run for office again. I would never. Well, I never have told anybody not to run.
I haven't either. Everybody should run.
I would never tell somebody not to run, because when somebody, it is not easy, as you know. It's very expensive, as you know. You open yourself up to a lot of criticism, as you know, and I am just trying to make a difference, taking the gifts that I have as somebody that's been in the business world and faced stupid government regulations. Our company got fined for a 5-gallon bottle of Windex a few years ago. I believe that we need some fiscal responsibility in Michigan, and I want to be the person to do that. Now, if I don't make it there, it doesn't mean I'm going to stop talking about things. I don't know what my future will bring, but I can tell you that I'm on a journey and it has been fun. I've gotten a lot of support. I don't want to but Doug Wozniak, like I said, he said he was going to retire. People told me that he was going to retire. He didn't. So I'm not going dirty on him. People can
Hey,
make
Doug,
their
why
own.
don't you come on Brandenburg News Network? We'll throw everybody out there and have
There
an
you
excellent
go.
discussion. You know, anybody wants to come on BNN, I would talk to everybody. Oh man, do I get people hostile with me over that? You're talking to this person or that person or this person. Yeah, I am. I want to talk to all of them.
Well, and to your point, like Mark Fortin at the Macomb GOP, he opens his office to any candidates. He has been very careful not to endorse or support any candidates in this primary process. He's told me that over and over again. He says, Jean, just keep working. Our office cannot support you. We cannot do anything. We can give you the opportunity to speak at our meetings just as much as if Doug Wozniak showed up, he can speak at our meetings. So I'm going to tell you that Mark Fortin and his staff and Lisa, they've walked the walk. They're doing what they're all said they were going to do during primaries. Now, some of these other organizations, not so much. Some of these factions of the Macomb County Party that have sprouted because they don't like Mark Fortin and his group. You know, I am
There
going to
you
just
go again, though. There you go. To your point right there. It's like, I don't like this person. I don't like that person. It sounds like a bunch of high school pom-pom girls. It's absurd. Whether you like somebody or not, can they do the job and what do they stand for? That's all people need to ask. You know, it's like,
let the voters decide.
I think Mark and Lisa have done an amazing job. And I can tell you that, you know, I campaigned across the state. I was in so many counties, it's not even funny. They were the only ones that actually could pull, you know, 400 or 500 people to a meeting because they were running it really. They ran Macomb. Macomb County was hands down my favorite place to go. It really was. And, you know, to get to know the people there, I was always welcomed in. And even when I went back after jumping to the Constitution Party, after I was illegally removed off the ballot, I think people there were smart enough to know exactly what was going on because they're actually engaged in politics. They're not just saying, well, I'm going to go be part of the coffee club over here. There were actually people that were working there. And I really appreciate every effort that they had there. And quite honestly, they know how to run an organization. And so whether you like Mark or Lisa or anybody else or not, I really don't care. I don't care if anybody likes President Trump or not. He knew how to run the country. And he did a really good job. And the result of stolen elections is the traitor in chief sitting in the White House right now, Mr. Mumblemouth up there, that couldn't even hold two sentences against the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, who had a stellar exhibit of control, decorum. He was wonderful at the debate, even having to face somebody of Mumblemouth's character.
Well, I'm going to tell you, my mother has advanced Alzheimer's. I know when I see somebody that's suffering from dementia. I know it. He's suffering from dementia.
I
don't know how people can look at you and argue that he's not.
Right. And I would feel sorry for him, and I feel sorry for him for his condition. But you know what? I hate to say it. He's had a lifelong devotion to tearing this nation down. And I'm not saying his condition is related to his evil deeds. But if you look at the fact that he's disqualified right now because, you know, of his mental condition, okay, he's disqualified. We need to, there's provisions within the Constitution for removal for someone who can't carry out their duties of their office, right? But looking at him for a lifelong, the dude should have been removed 50 years ago. I mean, he should have been removed within 2 years of what he started, because he started on the wrong foot. And we believe that these people that are entrenched in politics, like Doug Wozniak and such, just because he's been in there long enough, shouldn't that be like one of the automatic disqualifications right there? And they vote for these people anyway because he's been in office. He knows the ropes. Yeah, he knows the ropes, because anybody that's been in for a long time, they're just proving that they're part of the establishment.
Yeah.
Vote all new people in. Yes, let's clean it up.
I'm just so encouraged. Like you were talking about Macomb GOP. They give me the platform to speak, and people come up to me after and they tell me they're praying for me, or they ask if they can volunteer, or they make a small donation. I haven't received any PAC money at all, and I don't expect to, nor do I really care if I get any. I might have to return it if I disagree with the PAC. But just the encouragement alone that I've gotten from people that I don't even know. Of course, your friends and family, they're going to root for you. But when people that you don't even know are starting to reach out and say, hey, I want to help. A couple of weeks ago, I had about 30 volunteers that stuffed 4,000 poll bags. This afternoon, I'm going door knocking with a woman that didn't even know me more than, I just met her a couple of weeks ago. She just heard about me. She's excited about my campaign. So that's the true grassroots in America. It's the truth.
I really love the authenticity. I mean, you bring a lot of authenticity. When you meet somebody that can't just talk off the cuff like you and I are talking right now, you have to wonder who programmed and who's paying them, right? But with you coming on today, what's really my favorite thing is somebody that can actually talk off the cuff live. And and that doesn't mean that we're not going to make mistakes once in a while when we're live for whatever reason. But you just you go back and go, wait a minute, misspoke, or wait a minute, let me clarify this, that, and so you know what my intentions are and such. But I absolutely love the fact that you're so authentic.
Thank you,
that you can just have a conversation.
When you're telling the truth, you don't have to act. You don't have to. So I want to reiterate, just like you were just saying, so there's no misunderstanding. I am not accusing Stanley Grott of cheating or doing anything illegal at the election level. What I am saying is what I am accusing him of is defying the Board of Elections order. I have the evidence. I've presented it. I want the Board of Elections to enforce this. I want Anthony Forlini and Rick Stathakis to enforce this. I do not think that Craig Coper is the right person for the job. He's too entrenched in Stan's campaigning as a friend and as a campaign contributor, which in my opinion is purely, it's so wrong that Stan would be soliciting campaign contributions from his employees. If my husband did that, he works for a Fortune 500 company, he would be fired. So I just want a fair and equitable election. And I think that enforcing this order is the first step in making sure Shelby Township, the people are heard.
I really love that. So here's Jean's website, and I'm going to post this in my Telegram channel for future reference if anybody wants to see this. And fly, little ones. So I posted it on my Telegram channel, and I would like you to come back on and talk about some of these issues that you brought up, because you're well educated and you're not getting into just the surfacey issues, which I really like. I love the fact that you actually have numbers to back what you have to say, and that you're well informed. I very much appreciate the intelligence behind our discussion today. It's very inspiring, and I think everybody should really give you not just one look or two looks, but several looks. And I would encourage everyone to, if you really want this thing turned around, to get in people that are just like Jean, who understands the issues and who is willing to stand up and not take a back seat from this or be discouraged. And, she's doing the same thing President Trump did. She's taking the personal hits. And, that's when somebody's getting attacked, you better take another look at them, because that's probably the candidate that they fear the most, because she's going to get in there and she's not going to take their excuses, and she's not afraid to name names and say these people need to go, and this is why. And so I really appreciate that about you. I really do. So maybe we can get you back on again here, and I'd like to hear some more of the things you're concerned about and things that because like I said, you're very well educated on the events and such. And it helps me too, as somebody who interviews, a lot of people, because it's really good to have a team of people who are experts in their area, because one person can't know everything. You have to have people around you who, at a call, at a text or something, or at an interview, can get you the information that you need. If anybody thinks that President Trump is sitting up there with all the knowledge sitting in one spot, I'm sorry, they're not. No CEO sitting on the top can make it through the gambit of traps that are set for you without being team centric. You have to have a team mentality with really good people who have proven integrity and will that are committed to the truth and also with integrity. And I really appreciate that about you. I think that's as close to a endorsement as Donna Brandenburg gets without endorsing. So because
Yeah.
I don't believe in endorsements.
I don't
believe
either.
anybody should be out there telling anybody who to vote for or who not to vote for. You need to make up your own mind. The only way that you do that is to get in the game and find out who you're talking to and the people that are you're voting for. You shouldn't ever take somebody else's word for anything. Do your own research and figure it out.
Absolutely.
Well, with that said, you're a wonderful interview. This is great. I'd like to end this with prayer, and
Sure.
then any last words that you have to say, I'll come after prayer. How's that?
I just want to say I want to fight for the Michigan taxpayer, and I'm just so grateful to be on this journey and so thankful to all the people that have supported me and thankful to you. And the next, 30 some days, we'll figure out who's going on to November.
You should come to our nominating convention for the U.S. Taxpayers Party. And, everybody there is welcome. We don't require people to be in lockstep with the Nazi protocol of voting one way or the other. We have our candidates. In fact, who we picked for presidential candidate will be there, Randall Terry and Stephen Broden. And I love both of these guys a lot. And basically they said there's strategy involved in all this, guys. And I'm an unapologetic supporter of President Donald J. Trump, the rightful president of the United States. And I make no bones about this. And when he came to the national convention, he said, I will not be in the White House. I can tell you that right now. But what I can do is take votes away from Biden. And he said, so what does that tell you? We're all on the same team. And there's ways of doing this, being part of the same team, that we can, in fact, all work together. And quite honestly, usually the one that's in charge isn't the one that's standing in front of everyone all the time. So
send me information on that. I'd love to see when it is, and if I can come, I'll try to make it there.
You know what? I'll do one better here. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can pull something up here real quick. And it's in Gladwin on the 27th. Wait.
July.
Yeah, I'm going to give ourselves a little plug here because guess what? You're all invited. Come and hang out with us. We have a good time. And you don't see the nonsense of the fighting, the slapping, the crap that you see other places. Because they will be absolutely dismissed very quickly if there's not people conducting themselves with certain decorum and the way that we should as statesmen, not as Jerry Springer politics. There you go. So there's a nominating convention. It's at Lost Arrow Resort at 1749 Bromanville Road in Gladwin, Michigan. And I will be making apple crisp and lots of it because that's one of our becoming one of our traditions. So there you go. So anyhow, let's say a prayer here and then continue to direct people back to you to your website. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for Jean and for Jeff and all these wonderful people that are willing to fight for your processes, because all the rights we have are given to us from you. It's not the Constitution. It's guaranteed by the Constitution, but everything leads back to you and our relationship with you. And we are so grateful for that. We want you to be in charge of things here. We want to follow you because we don't have all the answers. In fact, we have very few of them, but you have all of them. You've got that not just a 40,000 foot view. You've got a 100,000 foot view that you see everything from beginning to end, not just where we are, but where it's going to end up. And you're in charge of things. We want you to be in charge of things, and we want to be one nation under you, under your jurisdiction, doing the things that you want us to do. And we're willing to do whatever you ask us to do. Put the path in front of us clearly and through your strength. It's not our wisdom. It's not our strength. It's your strength. It's your wisdom. It's your ability to give us the courage to walk into areas that we never thought we would walk into. And I ask that your favor would mightily rest upon Jean and all those who stand for truth with her over in Shelby Township, Macomb County, on Mark and Lisa over there, and Terry McCoskey and Anna, and everyone that's in that area that just really wants to see law and order restored to the United States, proper processes in service to your people. And I really do believe that every single person out there, if they try, they'll listen to you, and you will guide and direct their footsteps. And the more people that follow you, the better things become very, very quickly. We're asking you to step in and right this situation around us that is absolutely horrific, that you would call more people into running with courage and with honor, and with a mindset on valor, not for ourselves, but for everyone around us, is serving you, serving your family, serving everyone. That doesn't just mean Republicans or Democrats. That means everyone, especially those people who feel lost and alone, who have been betrayed by our government, who've been betrayed by those who say that they care. We know that they quite often don't, but we know you care, and we're committed to following you and being your boots on the ground here, and for caring and for taking care of those around us who have been both injured, who have been hurt, who have been neglected, who've been lied to. And we're willing to step out in the bravery and the strength of yourself in righting the things that are wrong, even if it's painful for ourselves or if we experience personal loss. It doesn't matter, because all of our treasure is found in you. And that's all that matters at this moment in time. All that matters is our relationship with you. And we thank you so much for never leaving or abandoning us. We love you, and we know that you love us, and our faith in you is rock solid. We know that you're in charge. We trust the plan. The plan is your plan. It always has been. And we thank you so very much, and we love you. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So there you go.
Nice.
And I love this. I love this when Catholics do this. I'm not Catholic. I love the whole Catholic thing, because it's like, but I feel lost. You know, you go to a Catholic church and you're kind of looking around and go, do I kneel? Do I stand? Do I do whatever it is that people are supposed to do? And
God knows your heart, Donna.
I love that. I want to learn the process, because it's like, you know what? I think that God knows every single person's heart out there, and they're just wonderful people everywhere. And we really need to get to know each other, not what people say about each other, but what's true. And we only do that by having relationships. So anything else you want to say, go to Jean Zott for, hang on a minute, let me bring your website.
JeanZottforMichigan.com. There's also a link on there for my Facebook page, which I post on there real often, because I don't have to pay anybody to do that. I have to pay somebody to update my website. So you don't have to be on Facebook to look at it, because it's public. So yeah, and you can see some of the things I've been doing. A lot of volunteering lately, getting to know.
You should have like meetings at coffee shops or something, or having something like that, because I would come. I would go if you had a meeting somewhere. I would absolutely go and hang on, that's my phone. That people are thinking that I should be off, so my phone starts ringing nonstop here.
Okay.
But at any rate, yeah. So there you go. That's where you can go to contact Jean and get in the fight. Do something. Don't sit home on your sofa or go to political meetings and just sit there in the coffee club. Actually get boots on the grounds and do something, guys. That would need to be happening. And with that said, God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. Make it a great day. It's your choice. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, and it's a connection with God. So you just have to make up your mind that, you know what, I don't have any examples. If I don't have any examples, I'm going to be one. If I hate everybody, that's okay. Love yourself. Know that God loves you, and be that example for everybody else, because that's the way we win. And don't be part of the Village Idiots Club. Think for yourself. Do your own research, and talk to people. Talk to people you don't like. Talk to people that you don't agree with, that people have said bad things about, because you're going to find out that probably there's more to the story than what's been, pervaded in the fake stream lying media. And with that said, we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow I've got Jonathan Cagle on again because we're beating up the corporations and the corporate structure so that we get to the bottom of these criminals that are complicit. And also with John Tater in the morning, first thing out of the chute here. So have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Stand for just a minute. Stand for just a minute, and I'm going to end the stream. Too bad you guys can't listen to what's said after the stream, because that's when it gets really fun. But we might put that out there at some time. But love y'all.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.